Dear Harstem, you owe me ladder points. I was promised a 100% win rate versus Zerg from your Adept Glaives guide. Now, unless you're one who partakes in swindling your viewers for fun, I believe you owe me the ladder points I lost when I executed this build near perfectly, but still lost versus imbalanced Zerg. I dealt massive damage this game, with Adepts plus DTs, killing almost 50 workers plus a base by the 10-minute mark versus 0 damage from my opponent. Yet, Imba Z was able to carelessly keep droning and building supply. Despite my massive damage, eco and tech leads, I somehow lost to the Imba Zerg economy. So Captain, do you agree that not only is Zerg Imba, but you also owe me ladder points? Or is it a possibility that I suck? This imbalanced complaint form was sent in by Fractal, a North American server enjoyer stuck in the Diamond League at 3,325 MMR. And the question is very simple. Do I owe this guy ladder points and is Zerg Imba, or does he suck? So let's investigate together. Now, in the imbalanced complaint form, there is a reference to the 100% win rate build versus Zerg. This is my 13th ever YouTube video that I uploaded on the 23rd of September 2019. So almost 4 years ago at this point. And in this guide, I just watched it because I was curious, like, hey, 100% win rate versus Zerg, that does sound pretty good. So I rewatched it. Now, it is a 3.5-4-year-old build order. It's not the prettiest one, okay? It really is not the prettiest one. It is a Now, I just said that it's not the prettiest build order, but I am 99.9, actually I'm 100% sure that I did not put a second chrono boost before my natural nexus. This is extremely bad. I figured this out in the moment Legacy of the Void came out, I'm pretty sure. And like 2015, 2016, I knew this was garbage. There's absolutely no way that my build order contains a second chrono before the nexus. Going up to 21 supply before the cyber, it ain't happening, my friend. Anyway, yeah, it's not the most pretty build. It's not the most efficient build, but it's a build that, well, in the North American Diamond League, in my mind, should be capable of getting the job done. It has about 14 adepts at the 5-minute mark. It's a 5-gate glaive adept, not a 4-gate glaive adept. This is before Zest innovated and cut one gate out and, you know, played the build a little bit different at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice in 2020. So yeah, it is not perfect. The build really isn't perfect, but it is kind of tight for what it was achieving, and it looks good. And I'm proud of that one, you know? I'm proud of that one, and I'd be surprised if you weren't to get a 100% win rate with this, especially in the Diamond League. I'm not sure if I still could get a 100% win rate, you know, that the titling is a little bit old. Maybe I should update it now. Yeah, 65% win rate in PvZ, but for most people this should be 100%. A chrono on the warp gate also seems completely out of order. I don't think that is actually what you want to be doing at all. So 2 chrono boosts have already been put on the incorrect structures, at least at the incorrect times. It's going to be Adept into Stalker. Now that part is correct. I do believe that you want to get Adept into Stalker as the Zerg opens up with a 3 base speed into Baneling Nest. This is also a build order. Now, I actually quickly want to show something here. So, the reason why the chrono boost on the warp gate is bad is because the warp gate, basically the first time your warp gate finishes, you need to warp in a bunch of units. So, if you use a chrono boost on your warp gate here, it means that your gateways need to be added in 10 seconds faster. Now, with this particular build order, I know for a fact that there's simply no money for that. It is impossible to get your gateways 10 seconds earlier without having to cut 15 workers out. Or I'm actually not sure what you would need to do to achieve that, but I think it is impossible. So right now what we see here is this cybernetic score is already on warp gate research on 70 out of 100, and there's not a single gateway that has been added. Now, a gateway takes 40 seconds to complete. That means that the latest you want to add at least 2 gateways is at 54 seconds out of 100 on the cybernetics core research. That means that this gateway that's going down right now, well, it's being blocked. It's not going down right now. If it were to go down, okay, this is literally 40 seconds late. Well, even more, like 45 seconds. This is almost just an entire gateway too late. Battery into Dark Shrine into double gas before any extra gateways. Near perfect. Very, very near perfect. Did he lose his first adept as well? Yeah, did. Very nice. I mean, this is a very poor execution of a very good build order. Rather than having 5 gates at this point, it only has 2 gates. Now the Dark Shrine is significantly faster because, well, you cut everything else that's good out of the build, so you could afford a faster Dark. At this point, it's mainly just really a DT rush, but the DT rush also isn't fast. Like, you're not hitting a Glaive Adepts attack. Where did that? What was that? What is this guy doing? Maybe he doesn't know where his opponent spawned? Oh, maybe he's looking for Banelings or something? Maybe that's what he's doing. He's like, I'm real afraid of Banelings here. He has plenty good setup. Don't need to look for that, buddy. Let's go across the map. Warp some freaking adepts. So, I said that I would hit at the 5-minute mark with 14 adepts. My man over here is hitting at the 5-minute mark with, well, with 2 adepts, but he has 3. So, if we compare the 2 build orders here, this is like 14 to 3. It's like sending out 14 party invites, 3 people showing up, but forgetting to open the door for one of the people. It's just consistently ringing the doorbell because this guy's going to be stuck behind. This is not going to be a great party. Well, that's not necessarily true. I've had great parties with 3 people. Sometimes it's more fun with less people. So I always told myself in high school and no one would show up as well. Glaive is actually done. Let's see how much damage it's going to do. Also, please note the complete lack of units out of the Zerg here. 4 queens, 55 drones. Imagine if there actually would have been 14 adepts here. Just imagine. I think it was at 6 minutes that the first DT warping is supposed to be happening in my build. So you are slightly faster with that. Congratulations. You really improved this build order. Cutting out, what is it? 11 adepts to get 2 DTs about 10 seconds faster. I think I got 3 DTs as well at the 6-minute mark. So I'm very, very impressed by all of this. Yeah. So impressed. There's no... Wait, is this a lair? Yeah, it's a lair. I freaking hate these skins. I sometimes can't even see if it's a lair. Like, I know it looks different from a hatchery, but... Good lord, is it hard. I struggle so much with this stuff. 2 overseers here being constructed. Fort base already on the way. Behind this, by the way, our pros is doing nothing. Now, if this is near perfect execution, then Lehman Brothers expertly navigated the 2008 financial crisis as well. Near perfect. Like, this is some extremely low tier stuff, my friends. Extremely low tier. Still getting a lot of kills, though. It just pains me as well that there's no nexus behind this, that there's no upgrades being researched, that there's literally nothing being added at all. No extra warp-ins. All you're doing is just purely warping in DTs. 2 at home. I'm not quite sure what these are for. I mean, there's still a perfectly fine prism over here. If he walks them across the map, I might actually lose my marbles. Okay, now warps another one across the map over here. Doesn't use it. Still a DT active. I kind of want to go into the first person, see what my man is looking at. Like scouting with the observer. Yeah, still 2 Evo chambers. I really wonder what that observer was for. What did he just see that he throws down a stargate here? Like, what is the big giveaway that a stargate would be the, you know? He's looking at this. Again. This is unreal now. For a second, so sometimes in StarCraft, when you press the button that you want to chase someone's camera, you know, want to look at exactly their camera, it kind of bugs out and it just keeps looking where you were looking already. So I thought that's what happened. Like, I pressed the button is C, where I can follow the person's camera. But I thought I had just bugged out. But he actually was looking at this. How was he looking at this interaction with the DT and the queen and thought to himself, the thing that I look at this. This guy is stuck. And he's just he's right-clicking behind the queen. Because he thinks if he clicks, just click harder. Does he do it enough? Yeah, that was over here. He's like, okay, let's go up top. This has been good enough. Got it up. Why is his screen so far to the bottom as well? I have so many questions. I'm still curious what the Stargate call is too. Like, what actually is going on? There's a bunch of probes just idling here. 1, 2, 3 that I count. Maybe some more in the main? No, just 3. Like, scouts a Roach Warren, double Evo. Says to themselves, you know what I really need? It's a Stargate right now. Like, I don't mind a Stargate, but most of the time you get a Stargate either when you're scouting a Spire, if you're opening without a Stargate, or you get a Stargate at the very start, so you can deal some damage with your Oracles early on. Like, right now, there's nothing really for which you'd need the Stargate in my mind. Like, a Void Ray defensively is not necessary. Phoenixes are not necessary because there's no Mutas. Are you really going to build an Oracle at this point? I don't think so. 17 drones at once. The Zerg knows how to macro, that's for sure. So what's the actual units lost here? 11 DTs have been lost. 44 drones have been lost. And 1 hatchery has gone down. That's a lot of resources lost here for the Protoss as well. Funnily enough, he is actually ahead because he killed so many drones. I don't think he should be if the Zerg had macroed this just a little bit better. Observer still poking around as well. What's this guy doing? Why is he continuously scouting? Like, what is he looking for at this point? It's not like the opponent can all of a sudden throw down like 2 Hydra Dens and morph 17 Lurkers, you know? That's not how this game works. Like, you don't have to scout the entire time to see what pops out of every single egg. Like, you got a general clue of what they're doing. You see double Evos, you see a Roach Warden, you see what they're producing, trying to retake a forward base, and you're already set into your ways anyway. Like, you're already going for a charge slot Archon attack. Like, let's not pretend that if you would have seen a Hydra Den here or a Spire, that you really would have changed your plans. It's like, oh, there's a Spire. In that case, I want to go into Colossi from here. It's like, no, you're already in this army. You can't just constantly be reacting. Sometimes you need to do something, and you just minor adjustments in your build. Stargate has built a single Oracle now. I can't wait to see what this Oracle is gonna do. I hope it flies in and just dies to a 1.5 queens. Forward base does not get cancelled, does get killed. Zealots tank every single Baneling shot possible as well as the DTs walk past the fight and straight into the third base, which honestly is not even that bad of a... could have been a bad... It was not a bad move, it just didn't work out here. You know, I like the fact that, you know, I like the harassing. I did like the harassing. I still feel like you could almost just A-move this army, no? Maybe not anymore? I mean, this feels like a fairly powerful force. Oracle's building a stasis. I feel like this fight would have gone better if there was less to do here. I would almost recommend Fractal to just disable a couple of hotkeys. Maybe just disable the hotkey for the Oracle. And just in case you accidentally click one, disable the hotkey for all the spells as well. So you can't be caught, you know, doing anything stupid like building a stasis ward halfway through the game. Halfway through the fight for no real reason. Archons are still alive. This is still honestly looking fairly good if more units were being warped in. Would have loved to see some upgrades behind this. This has not been a good fight. This fight's been going on for very long as well. Just constantly units walking into roaches, then barely dying or barely winning. And then more units walking into roaches a little bit later on again. Okay, now I think it's really time to go back home. I mean, behind all of this, Protoss is so far ahead, right? Protoss has established a fort base. So this is, I guess, the massive eco lead that he was talking about and the massive tech lead. I actually kind of would agree with all of this. He's down in upgrades, but everything else, Fractal definitely is ahead in. Better eco, better tech. Okay, Fleet Beacon, second Stargate. Interesting call. Immortals I do like, seeing a mainly Roach army. So yeah, Immortals are pretty good. Now, all of these fights are just super good right now for Fractal, in my opinion. Like like off creep, you're gonna be fighting pretty well if you have this size, yeah, an army this size basically. Worker count 60 to 79. Oracle gets a couple of extra kills here. We'll take out 1 or 2 more drones. Now the real question is, what is the follow-up plan going to be? Don't forget, Fractal has consistently been scouting and has now realized that there is no anti-air He's like, this is a big realization as well, you know? You can see him kind of thinks like, the roach. What does it do? It's a range unit? Short range unit. It's 2 supply. Doesn't shoot up. Doesn't shoot up. Doesn't shoot up. Doesn't shoot up. What can I do about that? Is that its weakness? Doesn't show up. Air! Air! That's what I need. Starts another Oracle. Fleet Beacon. Second Stargate. Boom! Prism! Also flies. It's like, now he's thinking. Now he's thinking, my man Fractal. Observers! Can't shoot those either. Also fly. He's just building units that can be attacked. Like, this is the type of high-level thinking that Fractal is on right now. He's on a completely different, in a different plane. A different level, this guy. Alright? 100%. This is a pure Roach Ravager attack. Does have upgrades. +1. 2-1 to finish soon as well. Double Evo really coming in handy. And that will finally happen. I'm actually kind of afraid here for Fractal. He should be capable of winning this fight as long as he doesn't stand in all the biles. Yeah, super. Oh! Okay, scratch everything I ever said about not building oracles. This was great. Oh, that was beautiful. Snipes the overseers and warps in 5 DTs as well. Oh my lord, this guy has a plan. Another stasis, beautiful. Doesn't work, but I appreciate the thought of timing that out. He was only off by 5 seconds. Yeah, it's not a huge deal. Just 5 seconds. Although 5 seconds, of course, is different. You know, depending on the context. You know, if you plan on meeting someone at 12 p.m. and you're 5 seconds late, it's not the end of the world. However, if you're running a 100-meter dash and you're 5 seconds late, it's pretty significant. I feel like the Oracle Stasis Ward is a little bit more like the 100-meter dash. It is kind of important to kind of hit that on time. Not 5 seconds early or 5 seconds late. Now, carriers are on the way over here. There's no upgrades for these carriers yet. There's no upgrades for anything yet. As Fractal maybe doesn't have hotkeys for forges or just for cybernetics core upgrades. Pneumatized carapace coming in right now for LRT. Is an interesting call as well. I can't wait to see how that's gonna pan out. Are there any carriers? Okay, there's 1 carrier out right now. There's 81 army supply against 100, and I'm honestly having a fairly difficult time understanding how Fractal is going to lose this game, as there's currently nothing that can kill his carriers. His opponent is maxed out. Fractal is practically maxed out. His upgrades are balls. That is 100% true, but it still feels difficult for him to lose. Another thing that's interesting is that Fractal mentioned superior eco for this. Let me actually find what he said exactly. Despite my massive damage, eco and tech leads, I somehow lost to the Imba Zerg economy. Now, so far the Zerg economy has actually been inferior most of the time. Well, the Zerg is mining more, but that's just because the Zerg has more bases. The Zerg actually has less workers here. So it's not like the Zerg has been outproducing him worker-wise. It's like, oh, Larva are so broke and he can build too fast. It's an insane fight, by the way. 2-1 units really fight very well against 0-0 units. But then again, there's also nothing here that shoots up, and that could be an issue. Now, a really sick move that you could use. This is an advanced move though, so maybe not quite for Fractal. But once you're being attacked at a base, and you know you can't hold it, you can actually retreat to a base where you might be capable of holding, maybe in combination with a battery, super battery, that type of stuff. It's just a thought. Another thing you can also do when you're being attacked by your opponent's army and you have a lot of workers in that particular location is to pull the workers away. Now this allows you to keep the workers alive rather than just sacrificing their life for absolutely nothing. That tends to actually be a pretty cool play, because then when you stop the attack eventually with your air units that you have, you can just resaturate those bases very easily. Just rebuild the one nexus you had and you wouldn't have lost 45 workers, which I'm pretty sure, okay, lost 63 work so far this game. So at this point, Fractal has lost more workers than his opponent, which is not a good thing. But he still has one massive advantage. Fractal has 4 carriers and there is no anti-air. And on top of that, well, there's going to be anti-air soon, but not quite yet. On top of that, +1 and Storm are on the way. These are 2 big upgrades. Sure, Fractal is down about 70, 75, 80 supply. But maybe it's still possible. That's 31 corruptors. That's a bit much, no? That is really a bit much. I'm not a fan of that. Holy crap, that's a lot of corruptors. Just build even more. Just add a couple in. It's going up to... I can't count, but... It's a legit 40. 39 corruptors. 39 corruptors. You know, this is actually kind of scary for the Zerg. Because there's legitimately no ground force. This is one hell of a provoked response. If you can hide the carriers now as well, it would be very high tier. But it's also cool to attack the overseers. To give the opponent your exact location of the carriers. Very nice play. It's that type of higher level thinking that I don't quite possess, but Fractal seems to have plenty of. You know, share a little, my friend. Oh no! After all this time, finally, you know, his brilliant, his mastermind plan of building units that fly, not paying off anymore now, is it, buddy? Prism, observers, carriers, all being taken out. How unfortunate. 40 corruptors, and he's lost a couple as well, right? Lost 4. He went 44 corruptors. This is a maxed out army on 38 links, 40 corruptors, 4 queens, and 85 drones. If you build like 5-6 archons and you have storm, now I'm not saying you're gonna win, because most likely you're not, but there might be a chance. You know, if you don't need that much. A cool thing that you can actually do here is completely ignore the corruptors. Corruptors are dead supply. Like, let's face it, you're never gonna win the air battle again. Right now your thought shouldn't be on, oh, I wish I could produce Void Rays again in the near future. It's like, no. Your thought should be, man, I hope that I can beat the ground force and that my opponent doesn't get a Greater Spire. Right now, there's not even a hive yet. So Greater Spire is really, really far away. Now, Corruptors, of course, are great against building and peeing on them. But I really believe that if you were to move out right now, I think you actually have a decent chance. I mean, you have some storms. There's 4 Archons. Yeah, sure, they only have +1, but these links only have +1 as well. I guess they have +2 carapace, but that doesn't matter too much. That's not so interesting. That really is not so interesting. Nexus gets rebuilt. Not a huge fan of that. Observer going on a scouting mission. Like, what is this path? Making sure there's no bases there? Like, surely if you're afraid of your opponent taking bases on your 6th base location, that is perhaps a sign that something needs to happen. Like, you have 70 supply, 38 workers. You are aware that your opponent is on 5 bases. Like, time isn't on your side, buddy. Like not at all. You're being outmined by a factor of, well, at least 4. Like, this is awful. That Baneling run-by also wasn't great, though. That Baneling run-by was not great. I do like that the Zerg players is basically only building Banelings, realizing that the kind of the limiting factor here is not necessarily money, but it is supply. So you want basically the most expensive units in that supply, the most efficient ones. I'm not sure if these are the most supply efficient ones, that is. Not sure if that's the case with this, but it might just be. Even get a single Archon with this. No. How many Banes was that total? 27 he lost so far. Killed nothing. Not the greatest trade. I think he actually should rebuild a couple of roaches at this point, and it would be somewhat important. This is the one timing that Fractal has, or well, timing. Despite being down 120 supply, I'm actually kind of starting to believe again. Like, if you just move across the map right now, completely ignore these Corruptors, I'm not sure if the Zerg figures out that he needs to build roaches. Just clear all the drones, clear all the Overlords, then go for it. Keep the Corruptors alive and hope you don't lose to a base trade. I mean, it is possible, right? It is definitely possible. 2 Neo Nexi on the way. Now starting to kill all the... This is a mistake. we storming here? Look at this one. This one up here. Oh, actually, it wasn't so bad. I said nothing. No, it was fine. Almost dealt damage to 3 of them. That was okay. I thought I completely missed, but I actually did hit something. Continuously chasing these Corruptors. Like, you know this is not a good plan. You're just freeing up your opponent's supply, and also you're giving your opponent so much time. The funny thing is because he dealt so much damage to these Corruptors, is that Fractal now might believe that he has a timing. He's like, oh, I managed to damage the Corruptors. That means there's less power in the air. So now, if he builds a Void Ray now, I think I might actually lose it. I think I would actually lose it. But it's not happening, is it? Nah. Okay. Greater Spire on the way. That means that we're about 60 seconds away from this game completely ending. But until then, there's still a chance. Storms? Storms? Wow. Could have been better, but also could have been worse. 28 new links in production. Did you forget that he built a roach farm with 2 upgrades as well on those roaches? Maybe. Just continuously getting more and more links. Now, this could have been happening a while ago. Larvae are hardly available, by the way. 50 links in production. 50. I think it's gonna be enough at this point. Just purely with the links as well. Like, Archons are very good, but if there's a recall? No, come on. What? Like, I don't think it would have mattered in this game, but in what world is this the correct play? Like, if this dude wasn't aware of the fact that there was a 5th base, that there was 10 gas, I would be okay with that. But you're going to a situation in which you're 100, like, guaranteed you're being outmined. It just makes no sense. Like, there's no future for you here in this game. Like, legit, no. None. You have 31 workers. 31. Couple of hatcheries in the middle of the map as well. Love to see it. Baning speed finally on the way. 3-3. 9 Brood Lords. Why are we building a stargate when we still have 1 available to us? 2! We have 2! And we don't want air units. I think this is worse than building a Void Ray. Like, there's 20 Corruptors out. 20. You have an income of about 600, well, 1600 minerals a minute and 300 gas. That's 2 Void Rays a minute. Like, you need to wait 10 minutes to have as many Void Rays as your opponent has Corruptors. And then hope your opponent hasn't mined during all of that. Why would you build another Stargate? With the little cash you have. Okay, this game is over. It's time to go. It's time to go. This, my friends, was not good. At all. It was actually fairly bad. It was fairly painful. No, come on. Up. Here come the banelings. Now, Fractal has stayed in for way too long already. Ah, beautiful baneling attack. No GG. Very nice. Very nice that I got to see that as well. All right. What went wrong? Well, what didn't go wrong? Honestly, it started with the build order, which I can now officially say isn't mine, you know? Like, sometimes people, you know, when a kid claims to be theirs, they have to do like a paternity test. I think I don't have to do a paternity test for this one. I think people look at that build and they look at my build and they say, that ain't his. It's impossible. It's impossible, okay? It's not mine, all right? I'm not gonna do no test. I don't need it. I know it's not mine. You made some absolute idiotic build. 2 gate, 3 glaive adepts into 11 DTs, which you've lost. Yes, you killed the base. And yes, you were actually ahead behind all of that, but you forgot to get upgrades. You then ended up defending your 4th base when you couldn't. You didn't pull the probes away at all, which meant you lost like 45 probes over the course of a minute. So then you're actually down in eco. You fly across the map with the carriers, actually deal some damage. teleport back home with the carriers, start attacking overseers with the carriers to show your opponent where your carriers are. So there are 40 corruptors, pop, 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 shoot down the carriers. Then you sit and do absolutely nothing, despite 40 corruptors tying up a lot of supply of your opponent. And then you end up losing the game. Now, my friend, I don't think there was anything wrong with my build order. I think there was a lot wrong with your build order. And I don't think Zerk is overpowered. I think you just freaking sucked. And that's life. That's okay. It's okay, buddy. That's life. That's going to be it for me today as well. I hope you did enjoy this episode of Is It Imba or Do I Suck? And if you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Hopefully I'll see all of you next time for a new video. And ciao, ciao.